In the late 19th century, cities started to swell up, growing dramatically by about 15 million people before the start of the 20th century. The swelling population was a result of both expansion to industry and worldwide immigration to the United States. These immigrants could be classified into two classes, the old immigrants and new immigrants. Both immigrants made their exodus prior to 1871, and they were mostly from Germany, Great Britain, Ireland, Norway, and Sweden. New immigrants immigrated to the United States between 1871 and 1921, and were mostly from Southern Europe, Eastern Europe, China, and Japan. New immigrants were viewed as much worse than old immigrants because Americans believed they were unskilled and just wanted to take American jobs. Old immigrants, on the other hand, was believed to be skilled people who could be respected as Americans. Most of these immigrants had to go through immigration inspection in Ellis Island to gain entry into the United States. Over 12 million people were processed in this immigration inspection center before it was closed in 1954. By percentage, 20% of the people were denied entry into the U.S., while 80% passed and went to become Americans. Ellis Island has become a symbol of immigration in America because of the massive immigration which it inspected. Of course, with the influx of people into the cities, there will be a problem with housing. This will be solved with the invention of the elevator and skyscraper. The invention of the elevator is credited to Elisha Otis because he is the one who made a device which will prevent the elevator from falling if its supporting cable should break. In 1957, he set up his elevator company, which, combined with skyscrapers, would set up urban homes for the future. The one who made these skyscrapers possible was George Fuller. George Fuller found a way to make the outside walls not have to carry the weight of the building, but instead the inside steel pillars and steel supports held the weight of the building. Daniel H. Burnham built one of the first skyscrapers. That building will become known as the Flatiron Building, which still stands to this day as one of New York's icons. Central Park is one of the greatest achievements done in the late 1800s. Central Park is a product of wealthy advocates for something comparable to the public grounds of Paris and London. The layout of the park was decided by a contest in which Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux won with their Greensward plan. The area of the park was filled with swamps, bluffs, and rocky surfaces before the park was built. In building the park, they removed 1,600 poor residents who lived in makeshift residences. Unknown to the creators of the time, the park will prevent several environmental problems such as smog and overflowing pollution, and made the park a signature site of New York City. Jacob Riis was a prominent muckraker in this time period. He took pictures with an early form of flash to take photos of slums in America. His photo journal, How the Other Half Lives, exposed the poor and the environment in which they lived in. The issue is that he took photos of composed scenes such as overcrowded living tenements, homelessness, and impoverished slum dogs. He wanted to raise attention to the poor living conditions of slums and the people in them. Mulberry Street, in particular, is one of the places in which he took pictures of. But Mulberry was the heart of the slums in New York City. The street contained many criminals and many homeless people. Street sweepers were an essential part of many urban cities in the late 19th century. They wore white suits and were often equipped with brooms and sweeps. As I said before, the influx of people in the cities created a lot of litter, so there was need for combatants of the issue. Cleaning the streets of urban cities was slow and trash emerged constantly, but cities slowly became cleaner, reducing a lot of health problems. Tammany Hall was the political machine that resided in New York City. With its power, Tammany Hall dominated New York politics into the 1930s. It recruited many immigrants, mainly from Ellis Island, promising them housing, food, and some form of economical support in exchange for their votes. They sometimes helped in more than just those three areas. George Washington Plunkett assisted victims of a house fire in Tammany Hall, also helped secure the release of six drunks by speaking for their behalf. They used their reputation to help secure their place in politics and rule major portions of votes. Boss Tweed would be the most infamous of the leaders in Tammany Hall. Boss Tweed became leader in 1858 and controlled New York politics by 1869. New York became his playground. He achieved many things such as being the third largest landowner in New York City, being director of the 10th National Bank, and becoming the proprietor of the Metropolitan Hotel. In 1873, Bosui would later be convicted of embezzling $25 million to $45 million from taxpayers and sent to jail. Bosui escaped jail once but was shortly captured again in Spain. He died in prison. Thomas Nast was one of the most influential people in the late 1900s. He was a social reformer who convicted to change many things he thought was as evil. One of those things being the most infamous Tammany Hall and his leader, Boss Tweed. He published many political cartoons illustrating the corrupt intentions of Boss Tweed and Tammany Hall. He used Harper's newspaper to attack Boss Tweed, and Tweed was removed from power in 1871. In 1873, he would escape and run to Spain. The police in Spain were able to identify Boss and Tweed by using Thomas Nast's cartoons to identify Tweed. The Panic of 1873 sparked a depression from 1873 to 1879. There were different theories as to why the economy plunged. Some of these include post-war inflation, rampant speculative investments, and large trade deficits. During this time, railroads grew rapidly, becoming the nation's greatest employer next to agriculture. In September 1873, J. Cook and Company, a major component of the United States banking establishment, failed because they had invested a lot into railroads and no one would buy any more bonds. This led to a domino effect, causing multiple banks to shut down. All across America, people protested and sometimes led to violent outbreaks. One particular one is the Great Railroad Protest, in which President Hayes had to send in federal troops to stop it. More than 100 people died in that strike. The depression would end in 1879, but the damage had already been done.